It's been about 3 or 4 months since I left Splatoon, and I finally decided to jump back in and see how I feel about it now that I've had a good amount of time away from the game. So I have a few thoughts, and that's what I'm going to be talking about in this video. For those of you out there that don't know anything about Splatoon 3, Splatoon 3 is a third-person shooter, but instead of shooting bullets, we shoot ink as squids or octolings at each other in various formats of, just consider it like paintball, but like squids, ink, octopi, ink, so it's all about ink. And really, it's just paint, okay? So, did I explain that right? Let me actually read something. Splatoon 3 is a third-person shooter video game, developed and published by Nintendo for the Nintendo Switch. It is the third game in the Splatoon series, following Splatoon 2. Like its predecessors in the Splatoon series, the game consists of online multiplayer, player versus player, and player versus environment, alongside a single-player campaign, all featuring combat based around ink. So that was an explanation way better than what I was trying to say, and that was from Wikipedia. So there you go. In case you didn't know what Splatoon was, that is Splatoon in a nutshell. The answer is simple. Really what it ended up coming down to was burnout. I had received Splatoon pretty close to around its initial release. Once it got to a certain point, I got to a point of burnout where it was just like, okay, like I've been playing this game non-stop for a while and it stopped being as fun, I guess you could say. Typically that happens not long after I beat a game's main story. I take some time and I drop off from a game for a while, and then I might come back to it for like other features. Of course, anyone who plays Splatoon does the turf wars, I'm sure, does Splatfest, or you're a pro player. I was never a pro player. Pro players, they tend to stick with it like until the end. I'm not really a pro player. I was just a casual player. So after I beat the game's single player campaign, I was still playing it consistently for some time, which is unusual for me, which goes to show that it's a good series, because like I said, typically after I finish a game's main story, I don't mess with it for a while. But in this case, I actually continued playing for quite some time, and the last Splatfest I did was the sour, sweet, or spicy, just to give a gist of when I left, because I say 3 or 4 months because I don't know how long exactly it's been since then. But ultimately why I left was just burnout. Once you play the same thing like every day for a while, eventually you kind of get tired of it, or at least that's how it was for me, especially with all the other games that had stuff going on and that were out at the time. For example, Pokemon. Like on Christmas I had got Pokemon, so it was only a matter of time before I started putting all of my energy into that, and then yeah, I kind of just kept going like that from there. So that's why I left. Nothing big and nothing having to do with the game itself. So upon my return, I was actually pretty happy to see Deep Cut again. Initially, when I first started playing Splatoon 3, I wasn't the biggest fan of Deep Cut, but after doing the game story / single player campaign, I actually grew to love them. Even though Big Man was a tough boss to fight, I still grew to love all of them, and so to see them again was great. As always, there was an update, and they didn't necessarily specify what it was, I don't think. Walking around Splatville, I was pretty surprised to see that there wasn't a lot of that good art I was used to seeing. Typically, whenever a new Nintendo game comes out, a lot of people around Splatville would have art related to at least that Nintendo game, if not whatever ongoing meme or joke there is amongst the Splatoon 3 community. But in my particular case, I didn't really see anything related to Tears of the Kingdom, which I was actually surprised by, because I thought it was going to be like super duper popular, but I guess maybe not so much among Splatoon 3 players, or since it came out they just haven't been on to do any art about it. But it was just really shocking because every Nintendo game, once a new one comes, typically there are people doing art. But I mean, I don't know, maybe it was just me, but from what I was seeing, it looked like a bunch of third graders like took over all of the art things, and I'm like, can you guys even have Twitter? I'm pretty sure you have to have Twitter to do like the drawings and stuff. I don't know, man. I was just like, okay, this is disappointing. I was hoping to like be updated on what the community is like talking about or whatever based on people's art in Splatsville, but that was a no-go. So it is what it is. I noticed we're like in a new catalog season. You know, I didn't necessarily fill my catalog the first time around, so I mean, I like getting the rewards, but I'm not like super into like filling my catalog. So I didn't necessarily check to see what the season we're currently in is called. There were new weapons in the shop, but I didn't necessarily get to the weapons part. First, what I wanted to do was peek at the stores, clothing stores, see if they're selling new clothes and stuff, check and see if there are any new hairstyles or whatever. There weren't. There were new clothes, but not new hairstyle. Maybe they're like a DLC thing. I don't know. I'm not hip yet. I have to like re-follow and resubscribe to all the channels that do like the Splatoon 3 news and stuff like that. I gotta find them all again so I can get back in the know about what's going on. So I first went to see if I still had it, you know, because sometimes you leave a game, you come back, sometimes you still got it, and sometimes you have to like play like a beginner. And based on my win to loss ratio, which was the gap was pretty big, I don't still got it. And I was actually pretty good before, so I'm just like, dang, only a few months and I just lose everything. I don't know if they like changed up how certain weapons work or how certain specials work, but you know, certain specials that I thought were a bit more powerful didn't seem as much anymore. Maybe it's just like in comparison to some of like the newer ones I was seeing, they just didn't hit the same. But there's that. I noticed when playing, I didn't see as many crab tanks as I was seeing around the time of my departure. Around the time I was leaving, everybody was crab tanking, and it was the most annoying thing ever that everybody had a crab tank. It was just it was so annoying because like, okay, I would be able to like kill whoever's in the crab tank here and there, but a lot of the times they'd see me before I seen them, and it would just be like, ugh, not another one. But I wasn't seeing as many of those. My weapons of choice, at first I started out using the Reflux 350, I think it is, and then my other weapon of choice was the Hero Shot Replica. I stopped using Reflux whenever they nerfed the Tenta missiles because it just didn't hit the same. And then like literally and figuratively. And then after that I started using the Hero Shot Replica because I was pretty okay with it just based on the story and doing that mode, so I figured I'd do okay with it in some other stuff as well, and I actually was pretty good with it. But going back into the game, the Trizuka it wasn't hitting the same. Like, I felt like it did more before. Maybe it's just me, but it didn't seem like it was doing much, or maybe I'm just completely stuck with it now. I also didn't experience many of those lasers because a lot of people used the lasers before too. Like the last Splatfest I was in, like almost everybody was using those laser things, and it was the most annoying thing ever because in my mind, I'm like, how is everybody getting this special so freaking fast over and over again? Maybe they nerfed it. I don't know. I gotta catch up, okay? But yeah, I don't still got it, but I did decide to try out a new weapon, the orange end zap. I'm not sure what it's called off the dome, but the orange end zap, I started using that, and I'm finding my groove. I mean, I was pretty okay with it in terms of like splatting my opponent, but in terms of like getting us the win, not so much. I like to like switch up my role. Either I'm like one of the people in the back inking and stuff, or I'm like trying to hold mid, or I'm trying to sneak into the enemy base so I can be the beacon for my teammates. Anyway, like I liked a lot of the new weapons that I tried out. I didn't necessarily like do a screen record of me trying a lot of the new weapons, but I really liked them. There's also some new specials that I really liked as well, and will like to try as I continue like playing and getting back in the know and getting back in with the community. Because at the time I was playing before, like I was dipping my toe in the pro pond, but I let it all go, like because I was like starting to do some of the ranked battles and stuff like like that, and I was actually enjoying it, but like I said, I ended up getting burnout. But if I would have stuck with it, I probably could have been a pro by now, but whatever. So yeah, turned out I suck. Turned out I need to like start from square one, because like I'm seeing like, okay, some things have changed. I gotta get used to new specials. I gotta get used to like these new weapons, because before I'd know the weapons that were more likely to kill me. I would know, but now it's like no, I don't really know what to expect from a lot of the people using these weapons. And I'm also not seeing a lot of the old weapons that used to be like the main ones that people would get me with. I haven't seen a lot of those being used anymore, so I'm thinking maybe like they do some kind of like balance updates here and there, where it's like they like make certain weapons not as good anymore, so people will use other ones and diversify. But I mean, I don't necessarily mind it feeling new and fresh with all the new weapons. And there were even some new stages I noticed, but I didn't actually get to play in any of them, because when I first got on, I noticed the new stage in the announcement, but then whenever I was actually ready to like start playing, the stages had changed and it was the ones I already knew. But I had a lot of fun like getting back into the water. So, in conclusion, I enjoyed my time coming back to Splatoon 3, and though I still feel like I'm kind of out of touch, like out of the loop or whatever, I feel like I'm an old person going back into a game I used to love, and there's a new community of people or whatever. I feel good. And I'll definitely be playing more consistently from here on out, or at least I'm gonna try to. But yeah, I'm definitely going to try to play more consistently from here on out. And with that, thanks for joining the party chat. I will talk to you guys as soon as possible.